Hello everyone, I am Akal and I am a somatic therapist. If you'd like to find out a little bit about what I do, you can check out my website, which I have down below this video. So today what I'm going to talk about is, I believe this is the ninth video in this series that I'm doing on the nakshatras as they relate to Kundalini Yoga, specifically looking through the lens of what's called the Gunas. Now the Gunas are the fundamental principles that underline all creation. Which is expansion, which is Rajasic energy, contraction, which is called Tamasic energy, and finally Sattvic energy, which represents the sort of equilibrium or the balance point or clarity. So what we're looking at today specifically is called Ashlesha. Ashlesha is it's very interesting to me. This is a really interesting nakshatra because what we're looking at with this sign, and this is kind of how I like to break it down. I like to break these signs down based on the planets that comprise them, and again the underlying qualities that each one of the planets represent. In the case of Ashlesha, on the most basic fundamental level, or what Yogi Bhajan would refer to as the impersonal mind, what we're looking at is Rajasic energy. And this has been consistent through the first third of the zodiac, starting with Ashwini, which was Rajasic on all levels, all the way progressing up to this point. So this is the fullest, I guess, the full maturation of the impersonal mind, or the Rajasic energy on the impersonal mind level. And what we look at when we're thinking about Rajasic energy on this level is the energy of, I kind of look at it as the life path. So there's this very active energy, and it's this active energy that's always moving towards something. So it's a tendency to identify things, to look at things, to again kind of see where one is being directed and guided toward. And Yogi Bhajan used the term attaching energy. So it's energy that wants to attach. So on the secondary level, or the functional mind level, which is the level which most of us are probably cognizant of, what we have is Sattvic energy. Now Sattvic, again, is this clarity energy. This is energy of balance. And then finally, well, the other way to look at Sattvic energy on the functional mind level is neutral. So this is the neutral mind, the meditative mind. And then finally, what's expressed out into the world is also Sattvic. And this is on the level of what we're projecting out there. So another way to kind of think about these things, I like to think of Sattvic energy as flow. So what it means, what I mean by flow is it's kind of a flow through. So I heard one of the descriptions for Sattvic is passive. So there's a passive potential with this particular nakshatra, a very strong passive potential. But again, it doesn't mean that these people are inactive, and it doesn't mean that they're overly feminine or anything along those lines. It simply means that there is a flow through. Now, what's flowing through, the way I kind of like to break this down, is the person's, I guess, deep attitude, or the underlining deep vibe that's progressing this person forward throughout their life path. I like to look at the two combinations of the bottom two gunas, rather, as in this case is Rajasic and Sattvic, which actually represents the energy of the sun. Now, why is the energy of the sun considered Rajasic and Sattvic? Well, you can think about it, again, on the deep level, the energy of the sun is Rajasic, meaning it's energy that's, well, I mean, the sun is a ball of plasma, fire, whatever, but it implies activity. So it's always shining, it's always directing energy. Then it turns to Sattvic. Well, because on that level, on the functional mind level, or on the level in which sun shines on the earth, it brings clarity, right? So we have clarity with the day. At night, things are concealed or occulted. Now, well, they'll also use the other term, you'll see oftentimes in astrology books when talking about the gunas that they relate to nakshatras, they'll see the term, its rulership. This particular nakshatra is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is interesting because Mercury is, again, it's sort of neutral. Neuter is another term, and it represents both genders, male and female, because Mercury is the intellect. So again, when you combine these two things, you've got this very neutral Sattvic energy, which equates to Mercury, with this energy of the sun. And so we have is this deep electrifying energy wanting to flow out, which is by definition in a lot of ways Kundalini. So what do I mean by that? Well, Kundalini, if anyone who's cultivated a meditation practice knows that the deeper you go into surrender, the more tends to rise to the surface. Now there's ways in which to enhance the flow to the surface, and that is, through Kundalini yoga meditations or any sort of practice which causes which forces us to concentrate, which creates a stimulation in the nervous system, which then encourages the flow of energy. So it could be yoga, tai chi, qigong, among anything really. I mean, exercise will also move Kundalini or move energy. So we've got this very deep electrifying energy moving flowing out through the surface. Now these individuals function on they have very strong intellects, meaning that they have the ability, whether they choose to or not, to play with the dualities and to be objective with the dualities, whether they choose to or not. The deity that rules the sign is the Serpent King. Now, serpents are really a big thing historically. People are really freaked out by snakes. Why are we freaked out by snakes? Because they sneak up on you. They're unexpected. They tend to hide in crevices and cracks. And again, they tend to take over burrows, which are not of their own creation. So they'll take over a burrow of an old groundhog or something like that. So there's a lot of reasons in which we're kind of like paranoid about snakes. Primary of which is poison. So this particular sign also is very, to me, I like to think of it as the fullest expression of duality, and that these individuals, through the choices they make, can express dualistic energy in two different ways. So these people can either bring poison and hedonism out into the world, or they can bring about spiritual wisdom and knowledge. So the Naga, the Serpent King, basically equates to Kundalini. And again, these are very much about the bringers of knowledge and wisdom, so they're teachers. So the Nagas, which rule Ashlesha, are teachers. They're spiritual teachers. The path, or rather I would say this person's disposition is towards Dharma. And Dharma is one of honor, principle. It's kind of what you're made to do. I'm here to do this. And that's what's being expressed here, is that energy. And finally, the cultivation of wisdom or poison. Again, goes back to this idea that there's a forked tongue with a serpent. Now, the interesting thing about this is that one of the books that I was reading about this brought up a story, or an observation rather, that serpents can be seen drinking milk from the udder of a cow or like a bison or something, without inflicting injury on the cow. Now, how does this occur? Well, this occurs because the venom, the poison that a snake has, is not part of its constitution. It actually lies, kind of in a gland underneath the fangs. So it is not part of their entirety. They're part of their constitution. It's simply expressed if they choose to, or if they feel threatened. And again, the natives of the sign are very similar to serpents. Again, this sort of I'll go ahead and read off some of the qualities. And, and those of you out there who have this as your sun, your moon, or your ascendant, you might recognize this. So the qualities are thoughtful, philosophical, austere, self-reliant, reclusive. Again, this kind of idea that snakes hide. Let's see, harsh, selfish, venomous. They don't handle personal humiliation well, but also magnetic and hypnotic. So again, like all these signs, all the nakshatras always have these, this sort of dualistic nature. But this, like I said, this particular sign to me kind of epitomizes it. We don't know what to expect from a lot of these people. There's a very strong drive towards transformation with these folks. Think about a snake shedding its skin. It's transformed. And when they transform, there's some new realization, some new understanding that opens up new perspectives in life. And again, this is very much because of the nature of Mercury being the intellect. A lot of this evolution happens in the mind for these folks. It happens on the intellectual, mental, philosophical level, which then, opens up all sorts of things. So again, just to recap real quick with the Gunas. So the sun, again, electric energy bubbling to the surface through neutral, or again, flow is what we're looking at here. And this is a great sign for flow. So one thing I did mention earlier was hedonism. So the sign is also, related to, again, solar energy. Anytime you see solar energy in some, again, with these gunas, these combinations of the gunas, I tend to think of sex. Sex, procreation, whatever. Again, there's a deep vibe of procreation and sex here. And one of the books I also read, it stated that these individuals have a tendency to like poisons. So we're talking about alcohol, drugs, etc. So the poison can also be something they bring in externally, but the poison can also come from their mouth and what they express out into the world. So with all that being said, I'll go ahead and show you now how I came to these conclusions and how I'm connecting them to, in this particular case, the projection is projection 24 from Yogi Bhajan's book, The Mind. All right, so here we go. We have the book by Yogi Bhajan called The Mind. Again, highly recommended. My copy is well loved, which indicates that, is something I would highly recommend. Here's the flowchart. This is the part of the book that really got me. So what we're looking at here is Yogi Bhajan, without going into astrology or anything like that, he charted out this progression from Chitta, which is universal mind, and he shows how it moves through these three qualities all the way down to the water level. Again, you have the elements off the side here, and what we're talking about here is increasing density. So we have ether, least dense, down to earth, most dense. Water is kind of how we're moving and what we're projecting out into the world. So Ashlesha is, at its base, informal mind, rajasic. Rajas, ahankar. And so ahankar basically is the energy, you can see it says, bounds, contains, attaches, identifies, categorizes. Now you follow this down, it's sattvic on the second level. So sattvic is neutral mind. So you follow that. And then finally, you have neutral mind once again, or sattvic on the third level, or the projection level. And then you get, that would be projection 24, or the Pathfinder. So in the book, you can flip to projection 24, the Pathfinder, assessment of personality and facets through intuition. And again, the other thing with all that sattvic energy, all that neutral energy, intuition is ultimately what's being cultivated. these folks, if they end up getting in their head too much, that's really not their strong suit. Their strength lies in that sort of the ability to access their neutral mind. So this is the exercise called the Sphinx Kriya, which I'll demonstrate in a moment. He says do it for 31 minutes. I say build to 31 minutes. So anyway, I'll go ahead and show you how to do this exercise. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate this exercise. And again, this is projection 24 in Yogi Bhajan's book, The Mind, and it's called the Pathfinder. A couple things about this exercise. You may have noticed when I showed you earlier in the video the illustration from the book, you may have noticed that it's done on all fours. And it's, how do I explain this? So a couple things are happening here. This exercise is meant to liberate Kundalini. Obviously, Kundalini yoga, or well, not Kundalini yoga, but Kundalini is aroused, or this latent energy starts to move, and it requires more than just a technique. It requires the individual, the ego, the personality to surrender and to move deeper and deeper and deeper into the surrender, into meditation, and then material content, information, whatever you want to call it, these like sort of occulted powers, et cetera, all these things start to rise to the surface. But this only is when the consciousness is ready. A technique or a drug or anything along those lines is simply going to accelerate the rate at which it rises. So this particular exercise being done on all fours, it creates a compression on the spine in a good way. And again, because a lot of what's going on, at least in terms of the physiology that goes along with the process of enlightenment, it's kind of like internal hydraulics. So when you put compression on the spine, this is actually a good thing. What we're really looking at doing at this particular exercise, because we're going to be in what's called cow posture, which is, when you're I'll demonstrate it in a moment, but the idea here is we're liberating the front side of the body. We're opening up the front side of the body. So my suggestion is once you go into this position for the first, minute or two at least, do it deep breathing. Inhale, retain the breath, relax your navel point, relax your belly, relax your heart center, relax your chest. And again, what we're looking to do is to open up the front side of the body. Not the easiest thing to do. This is where a lot of our repetitive patterns are really held in kind of a muscular tension. You'll notice when I get in this position that I also have a few. My tension's around the mid part of my back, so this position is actually kind of difficult for me. So when I was practicing this exercise to do this video, I realized I probably should be doing this, perhaps maybe for 40 days. And that's the recommended period of time to do an exercise like this in order to sort of really reap the benefits of what the practice is offering. So let me go ahead and demonstrate this. Well, actually, let me go over the mantra first. So the mantra is 6 Satnams. So it's Satnam, 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 Waheguru. And you're going to do that. And it says do this on one breath. So you're going to inhale, and then you're going to do that mantra. And you're going to repeat that mantra as many times as it takes till all the breath is out. And Yogi Bhajan says 8 times. I get to like 3, maybe 4. So again, my diaphragm is not liberated. I have tension around my ribs. So, this is, it makes sense. So again, over time you do this exercise, you will gain breath capacity. So let me think if there's anything else I should mention before I show you the position. The eyes. So the eyes are going to be on the tip of the nose, and what I like to do before I do any sort of exercise in which the tip of the nose is the focal point, or the dristi, first thing I do is I look up and to the left. Well, first you exhale all the air out. Then you look up and to the left, inhale deep breath, you retain the breath. Then you look up and to the right, retaining the breath. Then you look directly up, retaining the breath. Then you exhale all the air out. And then what I do is I look up and to the left again. Inhale, right and to the left, retaining the breath. directly up, retaining the breath, and then exhale the air out, and then you bring your eyes to the tip of the nose. Now that loop that I just went through before you got to the tip of the nose, you can do that as many times as you wish. And again, like I said, this exercise will have your eyes on the tip of the nose. So let me go ahead and show you what it looks like. So you're going to get on all fours. The forearms are going to be together and the thumbs together. So forearms together, thumbs together. And the eyes are up. And then you're going to bring them to the tip of the nose. And then inhale a deep breath. And it's Satnam, 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 Vaheguru. Satnam, 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 Vaheguru. Satnam, 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 Vaheguru. Then inhale. Exhale. All right, so that's essentially the exercise. I think you could tell, like, I ran out of breath towards the third round of that mantra. It's the morning right now, and I'm a little tenser than usual today. But again, the idea here is you do this until you eventually build up to 8 repetitions of that mantra on one inhale. A couple things. As preparatory measures for this exercise, again, because your back is an extension, it's not an extreme extension, but you're going to have your tailbone untucked. And like I said, you're trying to open up the front side of the body, and the chin is up. So again, compression on the spine. So my suggestion is that you do, some cat-cows before this, stretching exercises, any sort of really basic movement. And again, one final time, I do emphasize you should definitely do breathing for the first minute and a half of this exercise in order to relax the front side of the body. So you inhale, retain the breath, and then you relax the various points on the front side of the body. Finally, when you finish this exercise, you're going to inhale, retain the breath, 20 seconds, something like that. And Yogi Bhajan recommends that you do this exercise for 31 minutes. I recommend you build to 31 minutes. So start off with 3 minutes, 11 minutes, 22 minutes, however you want to escalate it. Then a glass of water you're going to need after this exercise. And then finally, Yogi Bhajan suggests you get an hour and a half rest. That's if you do it for 31 minutes. But generally speaking, you want to definitely make sure you rest after this practice. So the suggestion I would give you is to do it before bed or do it before you take a nap. And with all that said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you much.